work, what are ways which your practice or your professional career or just your personal life prepared you to be a state representative, even if it took you 90 days for it or whatever for it to kind of really start showing that that experience was going to be helpful going forward?
Yeah, being able to argue without things getting personal, like
Mm,
that really helped. I mean, that's my whole life really, is arguing with people about facts and law. And so when you get to the floor, what I realized is there was a lot of emotion in that chamber
mm,
by a lot of different people. And so it's a really emotionally charged place. There were a couple of late nights where we had a couple of old guy fights that were about to start and got got stopped very quickly. And
yeah.
I'm generally not that way. I don't get emotionally bothered by arguing about stuff. And so where I found I could fit into the action was, you take a bill that's okay, and just by changing a word here or there, taking out a sentence, adding a sentence, you can make it better, you can make it stronger, you can make it more effective, more conservative, and pull the bill to the right. And I was just trying to learn how to affect the ball while it was in flight. So you've
Mm,
got bills that are coming through the chamber. You might, on a given day, you might have anywhere between 20 and 100 bills on the floor, and you pick your targets. You decide which ones you're going to try to impact or affect, because you can't do it all. If you try to affect every bill, everybody starts tuning you out. And
yeah.
so I, it's a delicate process of trying to use your voice and use your skill set in a way that's effective and impacts what you're doing. Because
Okay.
if you're just talking on everything, or griping about everything, everybody just kind of shuts you down, tunes you out.
Well, I will take us back to our last conversation, and we were talking about the contract with Texas a little bit. One of the things you mentioned in that conversation was you thought that the 60-day kind of starting period was too much, and you should just get the ball rolling. Do you still think that after you saw how that 60 days is used, you think it should at
Even
least be
more so.
shortened or?
Even more so, Garrett. So that first 60 days, for your listeners who don't really understand the pace of a legislative session, what's supposed to be happening is the speaker's selecting who's on what committees, and he's referring bills on first reading to committee. But uh, I could have just completely done without the first 60 days. Like, let's refer bills, let's have committee hearings starting, week two, or as far as I'm concerned. And the reason is there is a lot of wasted energy. So for that first 60 days, that, is a constitutionally protected period that the Senate completely ignores, and they're having hearings and ripping bills right and left. Um, I'm there Monday through Thursday, or Tuesday through Thursday, or whatever. They
Mhm.
adjourn and they take 3-day weekends, etc. Uh, that felt like a waste of time to me. Like, I'm just away from my family and my law practice, and we're not accomplishing anything.
Mm.
So what happens is, with that 60-day period, that 60-day delay, you end up cramming bills into the end of the session, like May of the session, where
Mm.
you are literally going 24/7, the entire month. And so that becomes exhausting. Mistakes get made. You end up going faster than you need to. And a lot of this stuff is high priority stuff too. And so it ends up getting rushed at the end. Don't really love that. I still feel like we should get started faster if we can.
Well, my kind of I'm indifferent towards the 60-day thing. Like, it's it's there. There's ways to the Senate kind of has ways to get around it. I don't think it should be like a mandatory 60 days. I don't think you're going to see a lot of change if you got rid of it, if only because a deadline makes people actually move. like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
part of that reason why everything gets pushed to the last second is you have 150 people trying to move against each other and sometimes moving with each other, and they're it's just there's all that madness. I do think it was something more unique in this one is that Speaker Burrows kind of got grief for taking a little bit longer than the previous session for getting those assignments done. But what I looked back and saw was that you had a far more freshmen than previous years that needed to find homes on different committees. You had a
Yes.
number of freshmen replacing older, more seasoned or experienced um, folks in the given seat, which means those seniority changes on those committees. So like all sorts of people like with seniority wanted to move to better committees or different committees. You get a lot of madness in this one. I don't think we'll see as much of a delay with the ability to kind of start taking up the governor's priorities in the next session, assuming we have the same speaker. But anytime you have a speaker change like that and so much change within like the caucus or the House itself, I think it's reasonable to let them take a beat to make sure they get the committee structures right. Because one of the biggest complaints I hear now is like, oh, the State Affairs Committee was able to kill so many bills. It's like, well, maybe if he had another week, he would have been able to figure out a way to make that happen. I mean, or not make that not happen. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, it's a very convoluted process to be able to get everybody on committees where they're supposed to be. And I was very happy with the committees I was on. I served on criminal jurisprudence, which is where I wanted to be, and transportation, which turned out to be a great committee. I learned a lot, but it's a lot of work for a speaker, and he doesn't know that he's going to be speaker until the first day of the session, right?
Right.
And so, as far as I could tell, the speaker's staff was almost unaffected in large part by the change from Phelan to Burrows. Is the staff that was working for him was almost identical, with the exception of Robert Duncan and Zach Kovar. So
Right.
There was some natural carryover, but Speaker Burrows also had the difficulty of replacing all the Democrat chairs too with Republicans, and trying to figure out who falls into which piece. So I understand it's challenging. I hope we can get started a little faster next time.